Today we're covering my first steps in hardening a server in AWS. Let's go. Hey there, this is Tom with Tom's Tech Show, and when I deploy things in AWS, I want to make sure that, all of the services that are not needed are turned off, all my firewall rules are turned off, just your basic hardening. And I do that through, of course, the system management of AWS and using PowerShell. So trying to look around, there's all the services that the server has. Where do we find what those services do? Maybe a list of them somewhere where luckily Microsoft has provided that. Here we go. There is a site on security assurance here, disabling system services in Windows 20 Server 2016. Now this allows me there's a huge list of all the different services that are here and what they are, different guidance, whether they say okay to turn off or not to turn off. So the nice thing about this page, I'll provide a link, of course, in the notes below, is there's a spreadsheet that they provide. Here we go. So now we have a spreadsheet, all this information, all these services, list of, how many do we have here? Almost 200 services that are on a Windows server. And here, the nice thing is you get, of course, the display name, the name of the service itself, whether it's installed, how it's installed, and over here on the end we get the full description of that. So it's all in this spreadsheet, and it gives us some recommendations, which is nice. So we can go through and say, some say okay to disable, like this one, app readiness says do not disable. So you're going to break things if you do that. Microsoft is already telling you. But we can go through this list and pull out all the different, if I have a service, can I disable this or not disable it? Then I can go through and boom, okay, network list service. It just says manual, doesn't know, so we're going to disable it right in the list. Offline files, already disabled. Come here, I need phone service. Well, I don't need phone service on my server, so that's okay to disable. So through that I can generate this huge list of what services I need and what services I don't need, and then be able to create a script to do that. Okay, which I've created right here. So first thing we need to do in a script when we're connecting to, we have to connect to AWS. We have to find out what our instance ID is so that we can send, our system command, which you can do in any number of ways. I have other videos on how to do that. And then I have a list. This is a little bit easier to see the list if I actually just run this and put it out here and then just list the variable. Okay, so I have all of these services, so I have service set, startup type disabled. So I've gone through a ton of services here and just set them all to disabled. Now, if they're actually running after you do this, so you'll have to reboot the server so that when it comes up next time that boom, all these services are going to be disabled. And then finally down at the end, I do get net firewall rule where anything is enabled and inbound, we're going to disable it. So this basically clears out my firewall rule. So all rules are off. And then the only rule, of course, that I add back to be able to get into manage the Windows server is just remote desktop. You add that one rule back. And remember, if you're going to be adding the remote desktop rule back, that you go and head over to the security groups in AWS, and in your security groups you set for RDP 3389, you set this just to your IP address, nothing else, so that you lock that down so only you're the one that can get into and see that RDP is running. The nice thing about turning off all the firewall rules, that even if ICMP is enabled in the AWS security group, that ICMP is not enabled on your box. So that leaves ping off. So if people are pinging around trying to see if an IP address is live, which is kind of one of the first steps to let's go hack something and find out if it's there, is pinging. So all that is off. Okay, then once we get that rule variable in place, then we just send that command using the send SSM command to the instance. Document is PowerShell, and the parameters are my list of hardening parameters that I set in the variable. Then I just wait until it's done and then drop out and continue. So that's the basic step, the first basic step that I do on any server that I'm deploying in AWS. Kill all the services, kill all the firewall ports. Then as I add new services and new applications to the server, only then do I open the required ports for that service on the server. So, okay, well, those are the first steps that I take in just hardening, just trying to keep as many people out. I mean, I also install some software for, threat management and stuff in the servers that help on top of that. But this is just the first basic script that I dump onto the server. All right. Well, if you have any questions about this, then comment down below, like, share, subscribe, all the videos. Thank you so much for everybody who's been subscribing. I appreciate that. We're getting closer and closer, inching to 1,000 to be able to be monetizing my channel. And thanks, everybody. Take care.